Lección 7. So start off by taking turns asking each other questions here. So John to Andrea.
Okay. ¿Qué significa en línea?
Try to take a guess. Guess what it means.
Align?
Okay. In line.
In line.
Online.
Online. Okay.
Like to buy something online. Tú
hablas en línea?
No. Yo hablo en línea.
No hablo en línea.
En línea.
Mm-hmm. So,
or is it linea? It's not
linea. So the emphasis is here. You see that accent mark? So you have to emphasize it there. In linea. Real quick, for negative, come on, Zoom. There we go. All right, so I don't talk about this a whole lot just because it's kind of, we don't have the auxiliary verbs in Spanish, right? But we take a verb like hablar, okay? And it's an AR verb, which has certain implications, right? So when we're forming a sentence, what that means is, this is how it works, right? So hablo, hablas, right? Mm-hmm. So to be able to become truly conversational, you have to be able to do what's called a question, which normally would come in the to form. Tú hablas español, right? Mm-hmm. You also have to know how to say sí and how to say no, right? Now, sí is straightforward. Sí, hablo español, right? Mm-hmm. And what you just said, Andrea, was no, yo hablo,
no,
blah, 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 in línea, right?
Yeah.
The thing is, you also, if you use what's called the subject pronoun, you also need to put another no in right here. Okay. So the real answer to be negative would be to say no, yo no hablo español. Okay.
Could I have also said no hablo instead? Is it only because I put the yo in there?
It's because you put the no in there, but technically,
or the yo in there,
you've got what's called a simple answer and then a complete answer, right?
Yeah.
So if you think about it like this, in English, when we say no, we use an auxiliary verb, right? We say, I don't speak Spanish. But what would the simple answer be? Do you speak Spanish?
No.
No. Right? That's the simple answer. So you technically should have no 2 times in Spanish, right? This first one is like saying no. And when it comes right before the verb, it's like saying, I don't. And I'm so sorry for my, God, my handwriting's bad in the first place. On Zoom, it's atrocious. I don't, right?
Yeah.
It just happens to be the same word in Spanish, right? So simple answer, just no. Complete answer, no hablo. Yo is completely optional. You don't have to say it.
Okay.
So you've got conversationally 3 ways. You could just say no. You could say no hablo. Or you could say no, no hablo.
Or no. What about, I need the yo in there.
Technically, you could have 4 ways then, right? No, yo no hablo.
Okay, I get it, okay.
The hard part, right? Or not the hard part, but the confusing part or whatever, you know, again, contextually, most people are going to understand you. But technically what you just said was no, yo hablo.
No, I do speak.
Exactly, right? So
Yeah.
that's literally what what it would sound like. No, I do speak online, right?
And no, I don't speak. So yo no hablo. Yes.
Yeah. So the point is, structure wise, there's got to be, we've got the verb right here, and there needs to be a negation right in front of the verb, whether or not you use the subject yo or not. Does that make sense?
Gracias.
Was that
Yes.
helpful?
Yes.
Mhm.
It's funny because I teach both English and Spanish, right? And it's like, this is stuff that I don't spend a lot of time on in Spanish because we don't have the auxiliary verbs. But this is something like I spend months on in English. But
Well, it's a good thing John and I know what auxiliary means. So most people wouldn't, right?
Right.
no, that's why just because you speak English doesn't mean you should be an English teacher, right? Oh, you guys are lucky. At this stage of Spanish, learning beginner Spanish in the grand scheme of things is so easy. Not to say that you don't have to work for it, right? But having to explain auxiliary verbs is a nightmare when the concept does not exist in the language.
Yeah.
All right, go ahead. Número 2.
Uh,
Or so try and answer that one again, Andrea. Hablas en
Oh.
línea?
you no, wait, it wasn't hablas, was it? You're speaking.
The question is
yeah,
habla. That's what you said, right, John? Hablas.
Yeah, I didn't know what one to pick, so I picked.
No, yo no hablo and line.
And now you said no 6 times.
Okay, let me start over. No, yo no hablo and linea. I want to say linea because of
I
the,
do too.
It is, it's an A, right?
okay,
The-
linea.
The problem is you're trying to put the emphasis here, but because of this accent mark, this is what gets emphasized. So it's E, yeah. And then because of this particular combination, it almost gets merged into one syllable. Linea.
Okay. Okay, linea. ¿Tú ordenas las entradas?
Sí, ordeno las entradas. ¿Bebes mucha agua?
Sí, bebo mucha agua. ¿Tú bebes alcohol?
Alcohol.
Alcohol?
The H is silent, so it's alcohol.
Alcohol.
Sí, bebo el alcohol un poco?
Un poco.
Un poco. Let's see. ¿Tú tomas los refrescos?
Sí, yo tomo los refrescos. ¿Tú reservas una mesa?
No, no reservo una mesa. ¿Tú reservas un hotel?
Sí, yo reservo un hotel. ¿Tú comes las entradas al cine?
Entradas by itself means appetizers. In
Yes.
context, it means movie tickets.
Okay, I think I did this last time.
I
too.
think I was gonna say, I think like somebody said the same thing the other day.
Okay, I'm gonna write this down. So that's movie tickets. ¿Tú reservas las entradas al cine?
Sí, reservo las entradas al cine. ¿Tú comes? Oh. ¿Qué significa la salsa?
Bueno,
Dance?
you could say salsa and like chips and salsa, right? Salsa literally means sauce.
Okay.
It's very commonly used to talk about the music salsa. And there's actually a reason why. So historically, and I only know this because I'm a huge salsa dancer. I love salsa and the music and everything. That word was born because salsa is a mixture of a whole bunch of different varieties of music. It's actually, and don't say this to a Cuban or a Puerto Rican because they will not be your friends after this, but salsa is actually an American thing. It's from the United States. It was born in New York when a bunch of musicians for the first time that were from the different islands got together, and he had Cubans and Puerto Ricans and Dominicans that were all hanging out together playing music. And it was back in New York, and this was also at the time of kind of the big brass bands, right, with the horns and the instruments and like all that. And so it was a complete mix. It was a phenomenon that happened. It was a mixture of all these different musical backgrounds coming together in New York City for the first time and playing together. And one of the musicians, they were playing a song, right? And one of the musicians was saying something, of course, in Spanish, right? But was saying something along the lines of, ooh, this sauce is starting to taste pretty good. It needs a little bit more sugar to it though, right? Like it needs to be sweetened up. So la salsa es buena, pero falta un poco de azúcar. There's some famous line like that. And that's how this term salsa was born, because he was literally saying it's a good sauce. It just needs a little more sugar. And then if you get into the musical world, there's a big salsa singer named Celia Cruz from Cuba that was famous for always screaming out azúcar because of that initial conversation about the history. So I know that was a lot of information just to tell you what salsa meant, but
Okay.
Interesting.
Okay, so tú comes la salsa?
Sí, yo como la salsa. Like if I eat salsa.
salsa.
Okay. ¿Tú bailas el tango?
No, no bailo el tango.
Mhm.
Come on, computer. There we go. Okay, one more round. Go ahead.
Let's see. ¿Tú comes la carne?
No, yo no come la carne.
Como.
Yeah, oh yeah. Yo no como la carne. ¿Qué significa dulces?
Sweets.
Sweets. ¿Tú comes los dulces?
Sí. Como los dulces.
Yeah.
¿Tú escribes en la calle mucho?
I think that's do you write in the it's in the streets a
You're
lot.
right in the street. Grammatically, it's all correct.
Oh,
It's an odd question, but I'll accept it.
no, my French, cahier in French is notebook. So sometimes I took French in high school and I think I'm letting that take
Ah,
over.
okay.
¿Qué significa calle?
La calle.
Calle.
Street.
Street? Okay.
Mhm.
¿Tú caminas en la calle mucho?
That's a better question.
No, yo camino en la calle mucho.
All right, you did the same thing as earlier. Remember,
No.
you need to know right before camino. No camino.
No, yo no camino en la calle mucho. Okay. ¿Tú bebes la leche?
Sí, bebo la leche. I know I should know this. Okay. ¿Bebes los tragos?
Así, bebo los tragos. ¿Tú bebes el jugo de naranja?
Sí, bebo el jugo de naranja un poco. ¿Tú corres en el gimnasio?
Sí. Yo corro en el gimnasio. ¿Tú ¿tú caminas con tu perro?
No, no tengo un perro.
Muy bien.
¿Tú escribes cada día?
¿Qué significa cada día?
Every day.
Every day. repite.
Let's see. Tú escribes cada día?
Sí, escribo cada día. Wait, let me make sure this. ¿Tú hablas el español?
Sí, hablo el español un poco. ¿Qué significa algo?
Algo significa something.
Oh. Let's see. ¿Tú recibes algo interesante?
So is that, do you receive something interesting? Is that-
Yeah, that's not a great question.
I think it's a great question. Do you receive or do you get something interesting?
What if I said, what case, ¿cómo se dice sometimes in español?
A veces.
A veces. A veces. Yo recibo algo interesante a veces.
Mhm.
Okay. Okay. ¿Tú lees la historia?
Sí, leo la historia.
Excuse me. One more round.
Alguien, is that someone?
Someone or anyone. Mhm.
Okay.
Okay.
Is it my turn?
I think it's my turn.
Oh, sorry, John.
Let's see. Tú comes con alguien? Alguien?
Sí, yo como con alguien. ¿Tú vives en Denver?
No vivo en Denver. I'm cheating by using my app. Lo siento.
Really quick while he does that, what is neighborhood then? Like, if I ask like what neighborhood in Denver, so like, how would I say that?
Vecindario.
Vecindario?
Vecindario.
Oh, okay.
And your neighbor would be your vecino, if that helps you.
Okay. Yeah, that does. Vecino. Vecindario. Thanks for typing that.
So where are we?
Tú vives cerca de aquí.
¿Qué significa cerca?
Close to here. Well, cerca means close.
Okay. Cerca. Sorry, repite.
¿Tú vives cerca de aquí?
Okay. Yo vivo cerca de aquí. De Denver. Can I say that? Close
Cerca
to
de Denver. Sí.
of Denver. ¿Tú lees poesía?
No leo poesía. ¿Tú escribes cartas de amor?
No, yo no escribo cartas de amor. Did I say that right? Okay. ¿Tú escribes correos electrónicos?
Sí, escribo correos electrónicos cada día. Let's see. ¿Tú recibes invitaciones a fiestas?
Sí, recibo invitaciones a fiestas. Gosh. ¿Qué significa correo de política?
Correo means mail. Correo de política would be like political mail, like the political advertisements you get in the mail during election season.
Yeah. ¿Tú recibes correo de política?
Sí, recibo correo de política. ¿Tú hablas con amigos en tu casa? I added a word. Sorry.
Sí, yo hablo con amigos en mi casa. ¿Tú viajas con los amigos?
¿Qué significa viajar?
Viajar means to travel.
Oh, no, no viajo con los amigos. ¿Tú hablas de la política?
Sí, yo hablo de la política. ¿Tú discutes frecuentemente?
Sí, discuto frecuentemente.
Okay. Muy bien. Take turns asking each other these questions.
¿Cómo se dice January 1st?
Primero de
El
enero.
primero. Just add the article first. El primero de
El primero de enero.
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 Ahí está.
Okay. ¿Cómo se dice February 14th?
El 14 de febrero. ¿Cómo se dice March 17th?
17 de marzo. ¿Cómo se dice April 1st?
El primero de abril. ¿Cómo se dice May 5th?
5 de Mayo.
Everybody gets it. So it's funny, John. So many people have that reaction. They're thinking about it, and as soon as they say it, they're like, "Oh yeah."
¿Cómo se dice June 13th?
El 13 de junio. ¿Cómo se dice July 4th?
4 de julio. ¿Cómo se dice August 16th?
El 16 de agosto. ¿Cómo se dice September 11th?
11 de septiembre. ¿Cómo se dice October 31st?
El 31 de octubre. ¿Cómo se dice November 27th?
27 de noviembre. ¿Cómo se dice December 25th?
El 25 de diciembre.
¿Y cuál es la fecha de hoy?
Gosh, what is it? El 3 de marzo.
Muy bien. Vamos con los números hasta 100. Repiten. 0.
0.
10.
10.
10.
20.
20.
20.
30.
30.
30.
40.
40.
40.
50.
50.
50.
60.
60.
60.
70.
70.
70.
80.
80.
80.
90.
90.
90.
100.
100.
Okay. So the first step to being able to count all the way to 100 is to at least break it down by the base numbers here, right? After that, it's helpful to understand where the irregularities are. So between 11 and 20 and 19, we see two patterns emerge here. Repiten. 11.
11.
11.
12.
12.
12.
13.
13.
13.
14.
14.
15.
15.
15.
16.
16.
17.
17.
18.
18.
19.
19.
19.
Ok, muy bien. Also, you should know that the 20s are slightly irregular. A 20 ends with an A sound, 20.
20.
When you add 1, 2, 3 after that to go 21, 22, 23, you combine it all into one word, 21. And the A changes to E, 21, 22, 23. But really, it's just a matter of counting up to 10 after that, 1, 2, 3, right? After that, we see another pattern emerge, and this pattern goes for the rest of the way, all the way up to 100. 30 with an A as opposed to A, right? So we've got 30, and then it forms into 3 separate words, 31, 32, 33. It's going to sound like one word when you hear a native Spanish speaker say it, 31, right? Sounds like just one word, but it is technically 3 separate words. And so you can kind of see this pattern all the way up to 100 after that. Remember, 20 is irregular, 21. After that, 32, 43, 54, etc. All the way up to 100. 100 is 100. So it's a good idea to practice your numbers because when you go traveling, you have to buy stuff. And this is where you can get yourself into trouble if you don't know your numbers really well, right? So let's just take turns asking each other, ¿cuánto cuesta?
¿Cuánto cuesta el desayuno?
El desayuno es $15. ¿Cuánto cuesta el almuerzo?
El almuerzo cuesta 20 dólares. ¿Cuánto cuesta la cena?
La cena cuesta $30.
Muy bien. Now, when we're asking about multiple things, we add an in to the end of the verb. ¿Cuánto cuestan? All right, so ask about these items now.
¿Cuánto cuestan las entradas?
Las entradas cuestan $23. ¿Cuánto cuestan los segundos?
Los segundos cuestan $6 y $7.
67.
Oh, 67. Okay. Okay. Los segundos cuestan $67. ¿Cuánto cuestan los postres?
Los postres cuestan $32.
Okay, muy bien. All right, so good vocabulary also for traveling is things that you might forget, which I do frequently when I travel. So the first category is artículos de aseo, which is toiletries. Repiten, cepillo dental.
Cepillo dental.
Dental.
Crema dental.
Crema
Crema
dental.
dental.
Desodorante.
Desodorante.
Peine.
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 Muy bien. The next category is la ropa or clothes. Repiten, calcetines.
Calcetines.
Ropa interior.
Ropa interior.
Cinturón.
Cinturón.
Pantalones.
Pantalones.
Next, we have recuerdos.
Recuerdo.
Gorra.
Recuerdos.
Gorra.
Camiseta.
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 Afiche.
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 Toalla.
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 Muy bien. All right, so now take turns asking each other questions here. Keep in mind if you're asking about something singular or plural.
¿Cuánto cuesta los cepillos dentales?
Los cepillos dentales cuestan $8. ¿Cómo se dice 50 cents or pesos?
50 centavos.
50 centavos.
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 Ahí está. Centavos.
Okay. ¿Cuánto cuesta el desodorante?
El desodorante cuesta $5. ¿Cuánto cuesta la crema dental?
La crema dental cuesta $10. 39 centavos.
So we say it's $3. And then do we say y, like and?
Really, you should say con. In Spanish, they say con 39 centavos.
Okay. Okay, so
Oh, ¿cuánto cuestan los peines? Peines.
los peines cuestan $3.81.
Muy bien. Was that all 4 of them?
Yes.
Sí.
All right.
¿Cuánto cuestan los pantalones?
Los pantalones cuestan $67. ¿Cuánto cuestan los cinturones?
Los cinturones cuestan $25. ¿Cuánto cuesta la ropa interior?
La ropa interior cuesta 13. 13. Gracias, $13. ¿Cuánto cuestan los calcetines?
Los calcetines cuestan $15.
Muy bien.
¿Cuánto cuesta la gorra?
La gorra cuesta $29. ¿Cuánto cuestan las toallas?
Las toallas cuestan $19. ¿Cuánto cuesta el afiche?
El afiche cuesta 75 dólares. ¿Cuánto cuesta la camiseta?
La camiseta cuesta $100.
Is that everything?
Yep, sí.
Okay, regateo. This will be the last thing we look at. Regateo means bargaining, hustling, negotiating. Es muy común en América Latina, especialmente en mercaditos y tiendas de recuerdos. Es sugerido negociar. En tiendas formales no es normal. Okay, so it's a very common practice in Latin America, and it's suggested to do it, right? If you're not asking for a better price, you're probably getting ripped off. In more formal stores, it's not a thing, right? So if you go into like an official grocery store or a shopping mall or something like that, you know, you're not going to negotiate. But more souvenir shops, outdoor market type places where like farmers markets and stuff like that. And depending on which country you're in, some countries take this to the extreme. Anyway, so this is what it would look like. How about we have you be on the left, John, and Andrea, you're on the right.
Hola, amigo. ¿Deseas
For her, you would say amiga.
Hola, amiga. ¿Deseas un buen recuerdo?
Sí, me gusta la camiseta. ¿Cuánto cuesta?
La camiseta cuesta ¿cómo se dice? 99
99.
$99.
$99. No, gracias. Es muy caro.
Bien, entonces, si 50, no,
$50.
$50.
¿Qué tal ¿qué tal $25?
Hecho.
Hecho, yeah, the H is silent. Hecho.
What does ¿qué significa hecho?
Hecho means done.
Done. Like done.
Like it's a done deal, yeah.
Okay. Bien, llevo la camiseta, gracias.
Oh, de nada, adiós.
Okay, muy bien. So yeah, kind of the basic back and forth, you know. If somebody says that, like it's suggested to almost never accept the first offer you're given, right? If you're in a place where this is possible, they're going to immediately give you a counter offer, right? If it's not possible at that place, then you'll know because they won't make a counter offer, right? But like here in the United States, you know, we're just kind of used, this is a cultural thing, right? We're used to fixed prices, unless maybe we're shopping for a car or something like that, where we might negotiate a little bit, but it's pretty, you know, things are set, you know, on paper here. We have fixed prices. So this is not very common here in the United States, but in Latin America, you know, I'll never forget the last time I went to the Dominican Republic, they were having like a little market out by the pool at the hotel where they invited like local artists to come in and sell their stuff to the tourists, you know. And I was walking by this guy that had some paintings out, and just for giggles, I asked him how much one of the paintings was. He said, $500, $500. And so just like this, I said, whew, $500, whew, no thanks, that's expensive. And he immediately dropped the price. He responded, okay, ¿qué tal $50? He went from 500 to 50, like that. And then I said no again, and he dropped the price again. So like a sad reality. I don't know exactly how to say this, right? Because there's different angles on it, you know, but as soon as you show up in Mexico or just about anywhere else, people are going to look at you and see the gringo and assume that you've got a lot of money. And it may be true, you know, you're probably more well off than a lot of people. And so because of that, people are going to constantly try to take advantage of you in Latin America. So I share this with you so you know, right? The other side of the story is people are definitely coming from much more humble means. And so if money is not really an object to you and you like something and it seems like a fair price, you know, you don't have to negotiate, right? And you can take this to an extreme where you actually hurt the person, right? If you do negotiate somebody down to a price that's just not fair, you know, then they might very well be losing money. So you don't want to do that either. And then you combine that with the fact that, you know, somebody living in really abject poverty is losing money on a t-shirt, you know, that's not cool either. So my recommendation is typically not to take the first offer, because that sometimes is the rip-off offer where like the guy in the DR was trying to sell me this painting for $500 that clearly was not worth $500 if he went from 500 to 50 without even thinking twice, you know? So that's just kind of an exaggerated example of how badly you could possibly get ripped off, you know? Pay what you believe is fair. You know, if you're in a situation where you've got the cash and it's really not a big deal and you don't want to deal with the hassle of going back and forth, and you're talking about because I hate this. This is one of the things that I like the least about traveling in Latin America is the need to haggle over everything, but it's a real thing that you have to be aware of, right? And then vice versa, you know, I'm in a business where I serve a lot of Spanish speakers here in the United States. And so people do that with me constantly. And at least I know where it comes from, you know, I don't do it, but I at least know where it comes from, right? So, yeah, FYI.
So if you did go to Latin America and you wanted to buy something and you did want to haggle a little bit, es muy caro is a good phrase to know.
Es muy caro. There you're just saying, "Ooh, that's expensive," you know? And that's kind of a good way to feel out the situation too, right? I mean, you could immediately respond with a lower price, right? So in English, you know, oh, it's $100. Ooh, how about 50, you know? There you're certainly negotiating, you're going straight into negotiation. I like this way of saying, oh, that's kind of expensive, because then you can feel out the situation too, especially if you're not accustomed to this situation. By saying that's expensive, you know, they will drop the price if they're willing to negotiate with you, or they won't. And if they don't drop the price, then at least you know that they're giving you the right price from the beginning. And, you know, again, it's not, it depends on which country you're in, because some countries do it more than others. Like Peru, they negotiate over everything, the cost of a meal or the price of a taxi or everything, you know. A lot of this stuff, it depends on where you are. In Mexico, it's not, if you go out to eat at a restaurant, you're not going to negotiate the bill every time you go out, you know. So it's kind of, it depends on exactly where you are. You know, but it's always a good idea of getting in the habit of asking how much things cost up front before you buy them, because they don't have the same laws that we have. You know, a lot of this, the reason why it used to be more of a common practice here in the United States, but we've had a lot of, you know, laws passed in Congress, consumer protection laws and stuff like that, which, you know, most businesses have to abide by, setting fixed prices. And that's why you have to, you know, you go to the grocery store and for the most part, everything has a price tag on it, you know. And they just don't have those same laws in Latin America. So that's another reason why it happens.
Thanks
Yeah.
for sharing that.
Muy bien. Any other preguntas? Más preguntas antes de irnos before we go for the weekend?
I was thinking, like, when I can't remember what a word means, it would be good to know how to say, I forgot. I mean, I could say que significa or como se dice. How do you say I forgot in Spanish?
I'll teach you a couple of phrases here. Directly, olvidarse means to forget. And this is something we're not going to see for a while. This is what's called a reflexive verb. Me olvido would be the present tense. I forget. Me olvidé would be I forgot. Because of kind of the complexity of this, to simplify it just a little bit, because when it comes to communicating, right, you can say the same thing in a variety of ways. Acordarse means to remember, right? No, me acuerdo would mean I don't remember. So instead of getting into the complexities of the past tense, right, it might be easier just to say in the simple present tense, I don't remember. And you've, I forgot, I don't remember, it's the same thing.
Getting into that, when in your courses do you teach that sort of stuff? Because I'm like looking at some Spanish text and things, and then I'm like, I am seeing stuff like this and I don't know how to break it apart. And so I don't know. So when does that come in?
Referring to the past tense?
Like past tense, yeah. Like changing the, like, me olvido, how you have me before it. When does that come in?
So this is called, this is what's called a reflexive verb. This is in the third level.
Okay.
This is the past tense in the fourth level.
Okay.
However, as you recall, we did a lesson on the dialogues before, on starting to write your own dialogues and relevance and stuff like that. And there's a good circumstance where, because this stuff comes up in daily communication, you learn a language based off of a linear path going upwards in terms of the complexity of the grammar, typically speaking. The problem is that if you get into a real life conversation, the past, the present, the future, it all comes up. And so if you're actually putting yourself out there and talking to people, you're going to be hearing and seeing this stuff sooner than later, right? And so that's why I like doing the dialogues, because you can write, anytime you have something like that, write out a little dialogue and I can kind of teach you on the fly. Like, you don't have to fully understand the entire past tense, because conversationally, in most of your day-to-day situations, you're asking questions in the to form and you're answering it in the yo form, right? So some of this stuff, I could teach you the past tense in the to yo, if that would be helpful. Or you said that you're seeing some of this stuff in texts, like text messages, or what do you mean?
No, I decided to buy this Kindle book that was like recommended and something that I was reading, and it's like Easy Spanish Reader.
Yeah.
And so I've been reading that to learn new vocabulary and
This
stuff.
one?
Yeah. Yeah.
I love this book. This book's great.
Yeah. Yeah. I have it on my Kindle.
Yeah. You shouldn't be seeing the past tense unless you've really read the heck out of the book. They don't start going into the past tense for a while.
Oh, well, no, I haven't read the heck out of the book. So maybe I'm just not understanding the vocabulary.
Are you skipping around a little bit?
No, I mean, I did like skip it forward to some, and then I also was doing this, I was trying to listen to some podcasts. Maybe that's what I'm thinking of.
Probably.
I did the reader, this easy reader, but then I was also trying to listen to some podcasts that I could play in the car so I could hear like the pronunciation.
Yeah.
And it was just like the past tense was too much for me.
So I actually use this book in the second level. We use this book in the second level. I don't like, I wait until the second level to use it because just there's so much, you have to get through the full verb conjugations in this first level that we're doing, right? But I use the easy Spanish reader in the second level, but you could stick to that podcast. And that's the problem, right? If you're